Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. Tonight we have a guest. It's our New York City Controller, Mr. Scott Stringer, and he's going to take a few moments to speak with everyone. So without further ado, Scott Stringer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, and I thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me this opportunity. I won't take up much of your time because I know you have a full agenda. I do want to mention my friend here. We went to John F. Kennedy High School in the Bronx, but he was in a much older class, and I just wanted to met his wife, right? Went to Kennedy also. 20 years later, gets married. It's amazing. It's amazing. So you got married at what age?
Oh, I got married very late in life.
You can tell us.
43.
Okay, so I got married when I was 50. I now have a 3-year-old and a 20-month-old. Two sons, two little boys. So, thank you. So, you have to know I have the energy to do my job, right? So you know this, right? But if I fall asleep in the middle, you'll forgive me. So I just want to just say a couple things. One, it is great to be at committee board because I really believe very strongly in what committee boards represent. As a former committee board member and as a borough president, the committee boards are the lifeblood of a neighborhood, and you should never, as a politician, think that you should not come to a committee board and speak of your goals and your aspiration for communities, and then take the incoming from the neighborhood, because that's democracy and that's how our city government works. So I take this work very seriously in the work that you do. I just wanted to tell you a couple things about the Controller's Office. It's what I've learned in the last year. It's a very unique office because you have to do two things well at the same time, and sometimes it's not easy. On the one hand, as the city's chief fiscal officer, I'm responsible for marketing bonds. We have a huge capital program. We bring bonds to market. It's a serious financial position. I manage a $160 billion pension fund. A lot of the work I do is working closely with the mayor because we bring bonds to market. We go to the rating agencies together. We have a unique way of looking at the city budget, so I critique it, I analyze it. So we work with the mayor on a lot of those issues. And then while I'm working with the mayor and everything is going great, I'm also the auditor-in-chief. And so I look at the city agencies to root out waste and fraud, and that's where the creative and healthy tension starts. Because at the end of the day, my job is to look at programs and make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, making sure that our kids have the resources they need to learn. So when I did the audit and found in the Department of Education, they couldn't find 2,800 computers that were missing. We then found some of these computers in closets unpacked. We blew the whistle and said to the DOE, what's the inventory for these computers? Well, they didn't have an inventory system, and we made them get an inventory system. We looked at all those IT contracts, like CityTom, my predecessor John Liu blew the whistle. We're now looking at those contracts, and we kicked them back and said we're going to do business differently now. We're going to actually insist on performance with those IT contracts. So for the first time since 2005, I issued Controller Directive 31. You may think this is very radical, but I want to tell you about Controller Directive 31 because these IT contracts cost taxpayers billions of dollars, right? Controller Directive 31 says very simply, if you do not submit timesheets to the Controller's Office proving you did work, I'm not going to pay you. It's been an amazing radical notion. You actually have to submit a bill in order to get paid. But that is Directive 31. And we're cracking down on markups, and we're making sure that we protect the city's fisc. Now, I said during the budget discussion that we had to resolve 152 labor contracts. That's happening. But we also have to recognize that our city budget, while strong today, it takes just one incident, 9/11, a hurricane, to put us in a precarious position. So part of what I'm advocating as controller is that we make sure that we put money away for a rainy day, that we're very mindful that we have to make smart but prudent budget decisions, even though we have obviously a lot of work to invest in all of our communities. So part of what I want to just say to all of you, my job is to work with the community. If you have issues, if there's something you think needs an audit, if there's something that you feel isn't right, please call us. Jason Laidley is our borough director. He's here tonight. We'll leave our information, but we want to come from time to time and work with all of you. This job matters because part of what I have to do is just protect the fiscal condition of the city, but that also means protecting the kids and protecting the seniors who are so important to the life of New York. So with that said, I just wanted to come by and pay respects. I'm going to go to another civic association. It's Bronx night for me, and I got to come in quietly because my parents live in the Bronx, and my mother knows I showed up here. I'm dead, so tweet carefully. Yes, sir.
You know, you asked if there's anything we feel should be audited, and I really appreciate that. You know, we have Department of Homeless Services paying astronomical numbers for some of these homeless shelters. We have one here, how many in the shelter?
95.
95
Is this
people in the
Capri?
shelter, and it's $17 million a year for that? I mean, those are just ridiculous numbers. People are getting rich off these homeless shelters, and the numbers just boggle the mind.
So-
$125 a day to house these people is just ridiculous.
So part of what I've said to the administration is, yes, we recognize there is a homeless crisis. 60,000 people are living in homeless shelters, 25,000 are children. And we can never forget that though we have a roof over our head, life works in strange ways, and, you know, things happen. But part of the way you look at sheltering people is by becoming partners in the community. When I was borough president, I could take you to shelters in Manhattan. You would not know they were shelters. You would not know that anyone knows even where they are or cares where they
I
are.
wish we could say that in the
Well,
Bronx.
but part of what we did was work with the community board, work with community-based organizations, and where it was appropriate, we cited facilities, and where the community made a very strong argument, we moved the shelter and reconsidered it. There has to be balance, and part of what community boards are about is community-based planning. We will continue to work with you and your other elected officials on this issue. There is a housing emergency, it is real, a shelter emergency, but at the end of the day, you can't just track creating homeless shelters without also look at what is the future of housing so that everyone can have a roof over their head. By the way, you should also know, in addition to shelters, what I find the most amazing scam is that we also, as a city, rent apartments to house homeless people at $3,000 a month rent. And we need for the Department of for Department of Homeless Services to also start thinking proactively about a homeless policy that meets the needs of the people we want to help and the community residents. And you know, very few people come to me and say, not in my backyard. I find the opposite is true, especially civic-minded people. But people demand a plan. They want to know what happens if there is a dip in homelessness. They want to know what the 5 or 10-year plan is. And that's what I'm working on as controller with the Department of Homeless Services, which is why we'll send you the letters. I have not been particularly pleased with the performance so far.
Next to a bunch of us.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Joe, hi. I have a quick question regarding housing. When it comes to the housing projects and stuff like that, when families grow and they move out, the children move out, what's the possibility of the parents now that are in a 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment being downsized to make room for newer families and the homeless people?
Well, that actually happens.
How
And-
often?
and-
I mean,
You know, I can get you the data. I can get you the data on it, but there really is a move to do that. And by the way, you know, that's not easy as well, right?
No,
We have
I
a lot of
understand that.
we have a lot of people, not just in public housing, but who live in Mitchell-Ama, where suddenly we also have to be mindful of a senior who may have lost a husband, for example, may have had a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom, and suddenly you can't just say within a month, okay, get to the studio. So all of these issues are complicated and have to be treated with great respect, gentle. When kids leave or a spouse passes away, we just have to be mindful of that. I think the larger issue in public housing is the housing agency. We just did an audit. They left $700 million on the table in money they could have accessed from the federal government, and they left it. Didn't apply for it. And when we questioned them during the audit phase, they couldn't say to us, the way the Department of Education did, okay, DOE, we'll set up an inventory and we'll help track those computers. The New York City Housing Authority never admits they're wrong. So you can't fix something when they don't think there's a problem. And we are looking, I have 4 a number of audits, 4 audits in NYCHA right now, because let's face it, if we're gonna help people who are homeless, if we're gonna help the poorest people in our city, it's about the public housing stock. You cannot live in homes where there's mold and disrepair. You can't raise children in this way. It's not right. It's something that the city has to fix, and that is something I'm gonna work on. I've been working on this for 15 years. You're gonna hear a lot more about this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, oh,
Do have a question.
Oh.
Not even,
I don't know, Chair.
well, not so much a question, but you know, it's been an observation, and it's become even more outstanding when we begin dealing with the Department of Homeless Services, in that we cannot get any communication with anyone within that organization, other than their PR person, who only comes and tells us what we already know, that we have a crisis and that we have an obligation. But when we want to sit at the table and discuss how these funds are distributed, how these programs work, no one in Homeless Services wants to speak to us.
Well, that's something we can help with. You know, part of what we demanded from the Department of Homeless Services was that even if there is a disagreement between the city, obviously having to site homeless facilities, and you can imagine the pressure these agencies are under, there is absolutely no excuse not to have communication. Even if at the end of the day, there's disagreement, right? There has to be communication. And we have demanded that they not just talk to folks in the Bronx, but Queens as well, and other areas, because part of a successful strategy is going to be about gaining the cooperation and trust in a community. I've done this as an assemblyman and as borough president, and I believe this works. It really does start with the community board, because this is where the town crier comes when there's a problem in the neighborhood. 50 people and interested residents come to community board meetings. By the way, community board districts are, you know, over 117,000 people, 120, that was not bad, close. 120,000 people in a district. So think about it, if 100 people are here tonight, you are the ones that do the service for your neighbors. So you know the issues, you know the blocks, you know what a community can take, what a community can't take, what the balance is, what the issues are, and you have to come and talk about this. So I promise you, as I leave here tonight, we will be in touch with Homeless Services, and we will talk about, with your permission, the fact that this community board needs to hear more, not from a PR perspective, but the dollars and cents. And then, if you're not getting the answers, we can certainly talk to you about the math and the financial questions. I'd be happy to have Jason come back with some information. If you call him, we'll certainly give you, if you give me questions, I'll try to answer the financial part of it. Okay? Yes, yes.
Today we have the MOTS hearing, the Mayor's Office of Contract Services. And I went down and I read a rather lengthy testimony. And Mr. Beat is correct, it's $17 million, and it's $125 and change per day. And there doesn't seem to be any description of what goes on within the shelter at that site. We don't know about the various programs that exist in there. I suggested to Acasa, the company that manages that site, that they should be more forthcoming. There's a stalemate between the Department of Homeless Services and this community with respect to communication all the way down the line on that site. Homeless Services has a tendency to make the provider act as its public relations department. And that's wrong in our opinion, because, you know, we feel it's a mayoral agency, a tax supported agency, we have the right to communicate with them, they should be communicating with us.
So let me try to navigate some of that. There has to be communication. By the way, it's good for the people who are in the shelter, because they also need to be connected to the community. It's important for them to feel that they're not isolated, and the way to make sure that doesn't happen is to have discussion. And by the way, there isn't a facility around, right, that doesn't need improvement, both listening to people on the inside, the people who live in a house, but also people on the outside. And we're tracking these complaints, we are auditing some of this, but I do think we need to hear more from them. So let me not overpromise. You know, I've had my push and shove with the administration, as you know, from time to time, and I'm happy to push and shove, but I'm gonna try to see if I can get some answers for you. How's it? Okay.
with the high school truck.
You know, for the older guy from Kennedy, I have no choice. I gotta help him. You know, it's the Bronx thing. All right, thank you everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Control, I have to report to the group tonight that we have not received an approval of not one capital expense budget request that we put into the city. Every one has been denied, and I have to report this to the community. They've denied every single project. And this has been going on every year. And it really, you do hundreds of hours of work, you do community input, you get all the requests in, we put it together in a big package, we send it down. It was a big delay this year, but we finally get it back. Not one item was approved. So I just want you to know that it's really disheartening. You got a package, give it to them.
Yeah.
All right, let me take it.
And it's really discouraging because the community works like a dog's. And we said, listen, we need this, we need this, we need that. I'm sorry, you're not gonna get it, that's the reality is.
Let me,
What can you do for us?
so one thing we did was we went online, and actually you should go online. We for the first time ever, there's a great mystery about the New York City capital budget, right? What's eligible, what gets funded. So for the first time ever, during my preliminary budget presentation, we looked at the capital budget. And we found some very interesting data. So for example, if you want capital projects in the Parks Department, right? Parks Department capital projects get completed 25% of the time. Now, sanitation capital projects get fully funded 89% of the time.
Wow.
Borough president and city council projects, and as a former borough president, have a much lower success rate. So this data is important because we want to sort of peel the onion back when a community, forget about being rejected, imagine if a capital request goes in and you think it's going to happen, a park, right? Some other facility that you need. This is very important data for committee board. So I believe we broke it down, Max. Did we break it down by committee board? I must have. But here's what I'm going to do. If you go online to our office, or if you can't find it, call us. But take a look at the capital project stuff. We are looking at it. The mayor's going to announce another long-term capital project plan. So I thought it was important that we take a look at what we have accomplished. And some of this is not all bad, right? So if we know Parks Department data, we're not completing projects. We got to figure out how to build those playgrounds better, quicker. And we have to cut through some bureaucracy. So this is a way for us to sort of take a look and say we can do better. Part of what I'm trying to do as controller is give people the data they need so that when the bureaucrats come to you, you have as much knowledge as they do. That's why we started ClaimStat. Many of you have read about ClaimStat, where we're looking at injury claims. So for example, which are our dangerous playgrounds, people who are suing the city. Part of what we do in the city is we pay out $700 million a year in claims because we get sued over and over and over again for the same thing. So I want commissioners and agencies to change policies and procedures as a way of reducing those $700 million in claims against us so we can put that money to housing, education, and perhaps some capital projects for this district. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. And they tell me no. Oh, that's my son. Where is it? Right there. You see him hiding? Over in the left.
Thank you.
Take care, thanks. Great to meet you. I will, thank you very much. All right, good to see you, man. All right. Please.
Okay, we're gonna begin the, public participation. And.
Thank you.
Angela Rahman, outreach coordinator. From the Department of Consumer Affairs.
Oh, okay. my husband, yeah.
I don't think I need this.
We'll let you know.
Okay. Pretty loud. Okay.
Scott's tape, right.
Good evening. My name is Tanjila Rahman. I just want to thank Community Board 10 for letting me speak here today. My name is Tanjila. I'm with the New York City Department of Consumer Affairs. I am the outreach coordinator. And on behalf of our Commissioner Julie Menon, who used to be a chair of Manhattan Community Board 1, she's now our commissioner at Department of Consumer Affairs. I want to thank you guys for having me here. And so for those of you that don't know, New York City Department of Consumer Affairs, we do a lot of great work. So if you shop in a business, if you work at a business, or if you own a business, chances are DCA affects your life. So we license 80,000 businesses in 55 different industries throughout the city. We also enforce the paid sick leave law, and I have materials out front, and I gave some out. So it's a new law under Mayor de Blasio. It covers over 1 million New Yorkers. It covers over 1 million New Yorkers that did not get paid sick leave in the past. And so we do outreach, we do investigations, enforcement, we want to educate businesses under the New York City law. Basically, if an employer has 5 or more employees that work 80 hours or more a calendar year, you have to provide them with up to 40 hours of paid sick leave or unpaid sick leave if it's less than 5 employees. And you know, it's a win-win for employers and employees. We've received a really great positive response. The minimum requirement is just the 40 hours. And it's, you know, President Obama mentioned it at his State of the Union that there might be a national paid sick leave law, so it's taking momentum. So other cities and states have a law, but we're actually the biggest city in the country that's implementing paid sick leave law. So we partner up with community board organizations, elected officials to do workshops, trainings. We have businesses come into our offices for open house sessions. You know, we want to make sure that employers are educated about the law, and that, you know, low-wage New Yorkers understand that this is now a law. As of April 1st of last year, it's going to be a year next month. In addition to that, I'm here actually to talk about tax season. So another thing that we do at New York City Department of Consumer Affairs is that we provide financial counseling to New Yorkers, and we also provide free tax preparation sites. So many New Yorkers, I think 1 in 5 New Yorkers, they get their taxes done and they end up paying like $200, $250, and they may qualify for free tax preparation. So if you earn $53,000 or less last year, you can qualify to get your taxes done for free. We have VITA centers throughout the city that you can go to, and we have a certified volunteer tax preparer that helps you do your taxes. So a lot of people don't take advantage of, you know, tax credits that are available, such as the earned income tax credit, which a family, you know, if you're making $53,000, you can receive a tax credit from $2,000 to up to $10,000, and that could, it's actually the largest poverty reduction program in the country. So we're trying to bring awareness on earned income tax credit. So you probably see these ads, you've seen them on the subways and on the trains. We have commercials on TV. So we're really promoting the earned income tax credit that a lot of families, they may be eligible for, but they don't know because a lot of them don't get their taxes done. And so in Community Board 10, I'm just going to quickly name the 2 VITA centers. So we have one at Einstein Senior Center, which is at 135 Einstein Loop. And we have another one at Owen Dolan Recreational Center. So these are 2 VITA centers that are in your community board that if you earn $53,000 or less, you can get your taxes done for free before April 15th. So I have materials in the back as well. So these are some of the great things that we do at Department of Consumer Affairs. We do a lot of work with financial services, paid sick leave. Obviously, the majority of the work is for businesses. We license businesses. We also have a consumer fraud hotline. So if you say you were a business, they took advantage of you, you were ripped off, you could file a complaint or call 311. If you're an employer and you want to get the proper licenses or you want to inquire about services that we have, we do a lot of great work with small businesses. You can always call 311, and I will be here later if you guys want to come to me, ask me any questions regarding Department of Consumer Affairs. So thank you very much.
One question,
Yeah.
is it 4 paid sick leaves or 5?
So you can earn up to 40 hours. I can't say days, it's 40 hours.
As of what date, April of last year?
Of last year. So it's an accrual process, it's a little
For a year,
complicated,
they
yeah.
advise at the end,
So
put
you
it on, it's
accrue.
4 days, I was advised by those who were fast when it first came out.
Well, the law's changed a lot, but it's not, we don't like to say days, it's up to 40 hours.
You know, stop working those 10-hour days, Jim.
Yeah.
That's a half a day, you know that.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Leslie Brown, library manager at the library at Ashloop, Co-op City.
That's quick.
Now, be honest with you, it's a 3-minute session.
Okay. Oh, no, we're not gonna take long. But, so we,
You get that 10-cent fine?
so good evening, everyone. My name is Leslie. This is Judd, and we have representatives from all of our libraries in the district. And we want to say thank you, and we want to just say libraries matter, and we want to really implement that for our kids. We have a lot of programs in all of our locations for the teens, for the kids, and for the elderly, so we have it for all. But we wanted to keep in your minds that please continue to fund the libraries. We're doing so many great things. We have the ID NYC, we have a lot of all the programs that we have. Just continue to fund the library. But I do want to say, not throwing Baychester out there, but we are going to be having an oral history project. Yes, and it's going to be from the community, so it's going to be coming in May, so just look out for more details. I don't have the exact, but it's going to be a history about Co-op City. So we're asking that if you have any of relatives, any friends that been here since Co-op City opened, please ask them to see me. My name is Leslie Brown from the Baychester Library, and to just call because we are going to be doing interviews, and then we're going to have sort of like an open house. So please, again, all the libraries, please continue to support, and thank you.
Our branches all have calendars in the back,
Yes.
so if you want some flyers, we've got some information there too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next up is Dorothy Poggi of the Prairie Point Park. Dorothy? No, that one. 3 minutes.
Okay, first of all, there's some magazines here from Trump's golf course with Ferry Point Park on the cover, and there's an article inside. So anybody that's interested in that, anybody can help themselves. Trump sent a nice girl, Christy, to our Bronx Park Speak Up to table with me on the Ferry Point Park table. We had the base table for the Bronx Animal Shelter, and we had the Ferry Point Park table. So she sat there and discussed the golf course, which is supposed to open April 1st as a soft opening, whatever that's called. So, as you all know, the community board area has been surprised by a few homeless shelters. And I was supposed to go speak downtown today, but I was sick. So what I'm going to be doing is reaching out to the community organizations and asking you for letters of support. I guess I'm supposed to be facing this way. No, they yell at me when I don't.
You can hear you, Dottie. Go ahead.
So, I'm gonna be sending out letters, to ask you for support, and then I'll package them up and send them to the three different, people involved, maybe the mayor, the public advocate, and, Stringer, Scott Stringer. As he said, if you do put up enough argument and it makes sense, they do relocate these shelters. So in this case, I'm mainly worried about Ferry Point Park, which is a lawless area all summer. And now we're gonna have integrated 95 families that are trying to get themselves on the right road. And they're gonna have free liquor, not free liquor, but cheap liquor all day, every day during the summer on the weekends. So that's one of my issues, and that's my main issue, is that you're putting these people in a situation where they're being plagued with every kind of illegal activity, gambling, where one of the tables, the least you could, yeah, the roulette table, $400 is the least you could bet on that table. So it's high stakes gambling, you know, for our community. And everything you can imagine that's illegal goes on in that park. So I don't think it's really the place for 95 homeless families to get on the right road. I also think it's not a right place because it's the entrance to the future golf course that took us so many years to get going. And our community suffered for 15 years with all the dirt going through our streets, and now that it's finally done, this kind of works against the golf course. It also works against the Throgs Neck Shopping Center that we also went through and suffered through. So the economic development of our area can be impaired by having this type of a project right in the middle of it. But actually, I really don't believe it's a good place for it, besides with the transportation issues and everything.
Can you please clarify, you said free liquor and gambling? Can you
No,
elaborate?
low cost, not free. No, Ferry
Go on in,
Point Park,
don't you?
there's at least 30 illegal vendors all weekend that sell liquor, and it's cheap liquor because they make it at home. It's sold in a juice form. Oh, what's it called? Nutcrackers. The gambling, they have roulette wheels that they,
There you go.
the park people,
Dorothy,
the park,
30 seconds.
the visitors, they set up roulette wheels and everything. And it's a different type of roulette wheel, I have it on my site. Anyway, so that's all. I won't waste any more time.
Well, let me overtake now.
Well, you know,
The booze is still there.
Who is this still? Yeah, I put it like.
well, you know, we appreciate your input there, Dorothy, very much. And as everyone knows, any efforts regarding the shelter, as you know, just from speaking with the controller, is something that we are looking to have input in and to discuss, and we want to make sure our concerns are heard. So as far as it's going to be, summer is coming, we've been trying to work with the provider at the homeless shelter, but we've also been trying to work with our local law enforcement and everyone else involved to try not to have too many negative situations in our park this summer. So again, thank you for that concern, and we will continue pushing with your concerns from our office. Next up, we have Ms. Jessica Reynoso from the Public Advocate's Office, and she's going to speak to us from the office of Letitia James. Ms. Jessica Reynoso.
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me and giving me some time to give you some updates. My name is Jessica Reynoso, and I am one of the outreach coordinators. So last month, Letitia James, Public Advocate, has introduced several legislations into the City Council. She introduced legislation aimed at establishing a pension fund for all New Yorkers working in private industry, basically a pension pool for people who do not work in government agencies. She also introduced the Campus Safety Act.
A bill that seeks to protect college students from rape and acts of sexual assault and make institutions of higher learning accountable for their actions and inactions in such cases. She also introduced legislation into the City Council that would require the NYPD to expand the use of gunfire detection technology into neighborhoods that need them the most, and require the NYPD to file quarterly reports on information collected, transparency, accountability, and safety being the main focus. I left some newsletters in the front for anybody who needs them, and if you guys want more info, I can give you my cards, and you can shoot me an email. Thank you, guys.
Just take a moment here to mention the elected officials and liaisons that are here tonight. We got Dan Ogle from Senator Klein's office. You have anything you want to speak on?
Yeah, just a few things to talk about. So like you've heard, they did have the public hearing today in Manhattan for the Capri shelter. So I was there. Ken read a statement too, and so I think we at least did a good job of expressing the issues that we were going to have with the shelter being permanent. If anybody's interested in seeing the senator's testimony, you can see me after. We can go over it. An update on Bolton Point. Finally, we've got a start date for construction of March 30th. So we're excited that after the money's been allotted for that years and years ago, that it's finally going to get underway. And there's a groundbreaking in April. I'm not sure how it's going to work for starting on March 30th, but I guess the party will be in April. And then also, I wanted to thank those of you who might have come to the rally we had up in Albany this week for NYCHA. Monique Johnson was there along with Margarita from our office, and that was really successful. More festive news, we've got the Easter Bunny breakfast at the Villa Verone. So there's these bright, colorful pink flyers in the back. If anybody's interested, you can call our office and sign up. There's going to be a Bronx Tire event for anybody who's interested in becoming certified for a child care provider. You can call our office, 718-822-2049 to reserve your spot and get more information. And then also, I just wanted to invite anybody who's interested in participating in the Pro Watchers program. We're looking to restart in the community, targeting quality of life crimes in the Bronx, seeing if we can start to hold some of the repeat offenders a little more accountable. So if you're interested in something you think you'd like to get more involved in, again, you can call the office, and we'll keep you informed on the next event we're having. That's it.
We also have Mr. Leon Tolton from Assemblyman Benedetto's office.
Good evening, everyone. I'll just make this brief. As Ken and Dan said, that we attended the public hearing today regarding the situation with the Capri Center. And just for the record, the assembly member, he created a statement. I won't read it, but I'll submit a copy with the community board. But it is in opposition to the siting of the homeless shelter. So just as Ken and Dan said, like we all collectively voiced our opposition to the siting of the homeless shelter. So again, I'm going to leave a copy with the community board. But other than that, that was just the only thing I just wanted to say. But if anyone needs to contact Assemblyman Benedetto's office, I'm pretty sure everyone knows the number, but just in case, it's 718-892-2235. I'll just repeat it again: 718-892-2235. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, back to. Okay, we got Mr. John Doyle from the Jacoby Hospital here. You can say a few words. Just want to say hi, just wave.
You know, hi, everybody.
And of course, we have Pat Rucchio, the Bronx Times reporter here.
Hi.
He's not to say anything but hello. And I don't see anyone else listed that showed from our electeds this evening. Okay, Ariel Alvarez
Lost
from
sight of you.
Councilman Baca's office. Do you have anything you want to say this evening? So then our next speaker is Louis Rocco.
I don't know why it got so quiet. Good evening, everybody. The reason I'm here tonight is we haven't been quiet all winter. We've been working in our community to improve. We've been working in our community to improve it. We started out improving it by making it one of the cleanest. Last year, News One said that we were one of the cleanest neighborhoods. What I've been working on is issues that where Con Edison has been working and leaving debris for over 3 and 4 months. This winter was horrendous on everybody. Everybody had to fight for a parking space. So what I chose to do, and with the help of residents, we found out where Con Ed had left debris for over 3 and 4 months. I contacted Public Service Commission. I found out how to navigate the system. And now, knowing how to navigate it, I get things done expeditiously. You know, I'm sorry if I didn't use that. You know, I get them done right away. And one of the things that I had done is they left 3 yards of debris on St. Raymond's Avenue, which took away 3 spots. I'm also asking the community board, I'm asking Senator Klein's office, Vodka, the newspaper. What happened is we have cabs inundated with taxi cabs that are doing these shift changes. And the shift changes go sometimes for 1 and 2 days. I've been getting complaints from Montefiore. I've been getting complaints from everyone. They park the car, they leave it there for 2 days. They're using our neighborhoods as fleet shift changes. We need it stopped. We get the yellows, we get the green, we get the gypsies, we get the trucks. The residents in the area are tired. We cannot clean our curbs, we cannot do anything in that. So we're working on part of the cleanliness and working on it. We need change made with the way they park the cabs. We cannot have them there for days. I've worked on that. Other things that I've been working on is I have a meeting this week with DOT. I know we spent a lot of time and money and everything for all these islands that we put to make it safer. In the last couple months, we've been having really serious accidents. I'm waiting right now to get from the police department some stats. If I would have known sooner, I would have got them. I have filmed 11 o'clock at night vehicles coming out of I can't give you the exact direction, but the accidents are happening on Overing Street and East Tremont. They're taking down, I have photograph proof, they're taking down our street lampposts that are in the middle of the medians. They took down another one, a car flipped over, they had to take a woman and a child out of it. I have all the video and everything to prove it. If anybody questions my motive for doing this, it's not to have, which I've always been on it, it's not to have the fatalities. Everybody wants the fatalities first, and then you approach it. I'm approaching it, I want the safety first. We put all this money into doing this here. Now let's take a survey and let's see if it's working. Why spend the money if it doesn't work? This Tuesday, I will have a meeting with DOT. I have people that live in the neighborhood and they're tired of these accidents. I have a woman here. She came in with a plight the last time. She is disabled. Now disabled are having a hard time crossing the streets. Why can't we be compassionate and help people cross? We spend this money. What is it for? Islands that get snowbound and filthy and nothing happened. There has to be some other answers to resolving these problems.
20 seconds.
I just want to thank you for your time. Just consider we're a community trying to survive. I got one other thing, a quickie. 1564, I believe, is a homeless shelter. We have a homeless shelter there. We are not getting the representation we should have in the community to find out what goes on in the shelter. I applied to be put on this representation. The woman was having a baby. 9 months later, never heard anything. There's stuff going on with the shelter. They deny me rights to speak about the shelter that's in my neighborhood. We don't have a senior center in the neighborhood. Half the women and people in this community center here were supposed to have a senior center. Why are we denied that? Why did we get dumped on with a shelter? Since everybody's fighting shelters, we want to fight the shelter. We're not against the people. We were in the news for $3,000 a month rents and, paying there. We have the rights too. Thank you.
1564 what?
St. Peter's.
1560, St. Peter's Avenue.
Next speaker is Mr. Juan Rivera of Bronx Works.
How you doing?
Good evening, everybody. So my name is Juan Rivera, and I work for the Bronx Works Homeless Outreach Team. So I'm glad I came here tonight, as homelessness has come up a couple of times. So what we do is we're the street outreach provider. So we're on the street canvassing the entire borough of the Bronx. And basically we're offering people shelter services, we're trying to house people. That's what we do. And we've actually worked in collaboration with CB10 a few times, with Mr. Kearns, the 45th Precinct. We worked with Parks Department as far as cleaning up locations, going into different areas where folks might be congregating, trying to kind of stop that activity. So I wanted to come here tonight and kind of start building a relationship with this community board, and give you guys a face to and a phone number to call if you have any concerns about people that you're seeing on the street. 311 has always been a good thing to utilize for us. It's a good way for the community to let us know where people are, what's going on. We utilize it quite a bit. The city asks us to respond to these calls within 2 hours. We normally respond to them within 1 hour. We try to keep ourselves to that standard. So we want you guys to know that we're here to listen to any concerns you have about homeless folks in your neighborhood, and we want you to let us know, because we want to get to know who they are. We want to see if we can house them, if we can get them services that they need, and hopefully get them going on their way to being part of the community again. So after the meeting, I'll be here if you guys have any questions. I will give you guys my office number if you like, if you want to write it down. It's 646-393-4072. And you can email me also at jrivera@bronxworks.org. Okay, so again, I just want to get to know you guys and sort of be a face for you all to communicate about those concerns.
Juan?
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to thank you and your colleagues at Bronx Works for all the wonderful work that you do. They are great. You call them, they come to get the person, they offer them services. Often they don't take the services, so that necessitates repeated requests. And Bronx Works has been out there. Juan and his team have been out there with those people, talking to them. And I know for a fact that we were able to assist in getting Keene Square Park cleaned up from homeless people because of Bronx Works. And we've also been quite successful in offering services to people at Pelham Bay Park Station. And many of these people eventually come in and they wind up in their own homes after a period of training and adjustment, and it's a great service. And I just want to say thanks again for all the good work you do.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Thank you.
The next speaker is Mr. Gidio Cementelli. Gidio.
You're right. Yeah.
4 minutes.
Oh, I have 4 minutes. Oh, wow, I did something good. The chairman gave me an extra minute. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In fact, we started off a good year. See, I said I wasn't going to criticize the community board. In fact, I'm here to commend the community board. I'm here to say thank you to the chairman and to the rest of the members, and to Mr. Kearns for going downtown today to oppose the homeless shelter at Capri for, I think, an 8 or 10-year expansion, where I participated in the meetings, we've all participated in the meeting. This was supposed to be a temporary thing, now it's going to become a full-time facility. Okay. So I commend him, I commend State Senator Klein for going down there and testifying. I want to also thank Assemblyman Benodero. But I also want to criticize one of our elected officials. I want to criticize Mr. Vaca for not going down there, not testifying, not standing up for the community. But this is the problem. Doesn't stand up for Pelham Bay. We still have not had the last meeting. Some of you were there, some of you were not. I requested a hearing in Pelham Bay over the supportive housing, drug rehab in Pelham Bay. There's 12 or 15 individuals. Eventually they're setting up for 100. Can't wait for that. But the issue is lack of vision. Lack of vision for Mr. Vaca. Mr. Vaca's been in office, going to be in office for 12 years. And what has he done for our community? Absolutely nothing. He has done absolutely nothing. Look at this building here. Senior Center. Independent living. Beautiful. People, when they retire, they work all their lives, they could make an application here. How many do we have of these facilities in this City Councilmatic district? 3? 3.
Gideon,
But we're talking.
Gideon, don't personalize it. to the elected
I'm talking
official.
policy,
Yeah,
Mr.
but not politics.
It's not politics. I'm talking about policy.
Right.
Policy. And what do we have after these years? 3 facilities. People, seniors. We talk about $17 million contract. We're talking $50 million for homeless services, this and that. Why aren't we talking about senior housing? Why aren't we talking about senior housing? Some of you people out there are getting up there in age. I know I am. You might be looking for some senior housing. Hopefully not supportive housing, but senior housing. You might need it. You ought to think about it. I might need it. People lack of vision in our elected official. Mr. Vaca, 12 years, instead of going down there today, it's just an example. Why don't we have facilities for seniors? Not drug addicts, ex-convicts, child molesters. This is, I wanted to say thank you. And that's all I want to say. I didn't use up my 4 minutes. I want to carry it over for next month.
For a motion.
Motion we close the
I second.
Okay. Next we need a motion to accept the minutes of the February 19th community board meeting. And next up, we have the borough president's report, Mr. Tom McCain.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of quick items. First of all, for those who are up for reappointment this year, you will be getting letters middle to the end of April. So you will continue to serve until you receive your letter from the borough president. For those who have applied, the time frame is similar, probably middle to the end of April would be the time where we will be sending out new appointment letters. Just a couple of quick items, as I said. The borough president recently released his annual development report, which talked about the amount of development that took place in the borough since 2009. And in 2014 alone, the Bronx saw over $1 billion in new development. The actual report in full is on the borough president's website. If you go to the website, the press release is there, and you should take the opportunity to read it over. It is broken down by community district, it's broken down by type of development, and there are maps to show you where that development is taking place. It'll give you an idea of where in the borough housing development is taking place, commercial development, and institutional development is taking place. The borough board, and Mr. Prince was at the board meeting that approved the borough board budget priorities for the year fiscal year 2016, And again, that report is online, but I just want to make a point, since Dottie is here, that once again, we did include in that report the borough president and the borough board's support for a full-service animal shelter in the borough. And in addition, I testified on behalf of the borough president at the recent city council hearing regarding that issue as well, in support of the legislation put out by Councilmember Paul Vallone for a full-service shelter both in the borough of Queens and the borough of the Bronx. Borough President also applauded Chancellor Farina's decision and the mayor's decision to add the 2 Muslim holidays to the public school calendar. Actually, the Borough President had originally put legislation in when he was in the New York State Assembly in 2007 to do just that. It took a little bit longer, but he is happy that that did happen. And as was mentioned, I think also earlier, the Trump Golf Links will be taking its first golfers on Wednesday, April the 1st, and we look forward to that opening. And then finally, finally, again, a meeting that Mr. Prince and Ken was at with us, with the Borough President, was with the Parks Commissioner. And one of the things the Parks Commissioner said is that he often takes the weekends unannounced and travels around, right, Martin? And one of the places he has recently, when I say recently, probably in the fall, visited unannounced and saw for himself Ferry Point Park. And I think because of that, I think you will see some improvement over this coming summer. Thank you all very much.
I got an email, I just wanna say it looks great, Bronx Tourism on their new 44-page guide to the Bronx.
Yes, the tourism guide was announced yesterday. The guide is on the ilovethebronx.com website. The actual hard copies are also available in some of the institutions in the Bronx. I'll try to get some to the community boards, but it is in a web format on the website as well.
Thank you. They did a great job, it really looks terrific. There are a couple of places mentioned in our district, which is really nice to see. It really looks like it's gonna help promote the Bronx tourism, so thank them for us for the great job.
Okay, next up is the district manager's report.
Hi, I attended today the Mayor's Office of Contract Services meeting with respect to the provision of the contract for Acacia Housing Network regarding the operation of what's called Crystal Place, which is the old Capri Hotel. And a couple of things that I mentioned to the Mayor's Office of Contract Services. Now, this is the entity that's responsible for reviewing all potential contracts that the city lets. So if they don't like what's in the contract, or if they don't like the way the contract reads, or if they don't like the way the provider is answering the questions, or if they don't like the way the agency has put together the contract, they can actually hold the whole thing up. And we all know how this contract came into being. This is an extension, really, of an emergency contract that the Department of Homeless Services told the world that they had to do because New York City had 58,000 homeless families in it, and they just put 95 of them at the Capri. They did this on an emergency basis. Today's hearing was about the contract that would extend their time at that site. So there was a lot of input from our elected officials and the community board. And one of the things that I pointed out, a number of things that I pointed out were, one, there was never any true community involvement in the siting of this facility, and that's a violation of the violation of the Department of Homeless Services' own regulations. Two, the city's contractual regulations require any contract over a certain amount of money have 3 bids. Well, there was no bid. What happened was Martin and I had received information back a few months ago indicating that an entirely different organization called Help USA was going to be the contractor at that site, only to find out 3 days later that it was Acacia. They didn't issue a contract
bidding process for this. They just substituted one for the other. When Help USA declined to participate, they just turned it over to Acacia. Now they keep talking about an emergency. Well, I don't really want to say anything negative about Acacia, but the problem is homeless services. If they're going to have a contract, they should, adhere to their own regulations. And they're not adhering even to their own regulations, let alone the city's general regulations. There was no time to vet the contractor. There was no time to talk to the contractor. There was no time to make a formal presentation from the contractor to the community board. They just shoved it in. Many of you attended that community board meeting, and the homeless service staff actually wanted to get up and leave after an hour, which is never the norm for any city agency. There's a problem with homeless services in that they don't want to really talk to us. They don't want to really view us as a colleague agency or even as a client. They have their one goal and that's it, and that's all they want to talk about. And we don't, our board doesn't really believe that this is the way to go. If you're going to have a meaningful homeless prevention policy, you've got to bring everybody into the big tent. And you've got to have everyone come in and talk about ways in which to resolve this. And they don't seem to be willing to do that. So there's a constant banging on the drum of trying to get them to listen to us and to treat us as a colleague agency and to treat the communities that have to host these facilities as important actors. For instance, we have the golf course. Now, many of you have served on this board for many years, predating me, and know full well that the City of New York never gave us a capital project that really would have enabled us to move forward economically. The one time they do it and is the golf course. And the golf course can be a game changer for us in many ways. So what does the city do? They put in a golf course and then they put in a homeless shelter. We tell homeless services about this. We try to have a dialogue with them. We go down to their offices. We make an appointment with their commissioner. Their commissioner doesn't choose to talk to us. He sends his public relations person. And the public relations person listens very politely to us and basically ignores us. We wanted to talk to them about how to integrate the shelter into the larger community and to talk about the economy of the community board, and homeless services just basically blew us off. Another issue that's a problem is that they don't even communicate with the people that they contract with to operate the homeless shelters. As we all know, there were two gentlemen in there that were level 2 and level 3 sex offenders. Now this is in a homeless shelter for women and children. At no point in time did the Department of Homeless Services ever tell Acacia, its own contractor, that these individuals were there. Acacia didn't know that they were there. And the only way that they were removed was because of incredible outcry on the part of civically-minded people like Arnie Bowler, who actually outed them on this, and thank you, and her colleague Michelle, and other people. I know Mrs. Salambini as well. So, they helped us out with this, and we got rid of them. So, the whole thing is just so bizarre to us. And we also believe that if you're going to have this type of service in our community board, then you really should give us something back. Acacia is a very big, multifaceted organization. It gets a lot of government contracts. They run homeless services, they run supportive housing, they run transitional housing, they run low-income housing, they run drug treatment programs, they run psychiatry programs, psychology programs. It's a very, very big agency. And they, by and large, are a pretty good agency. So we feel that if they're going to do something, if they're going to be here, they should be integrated fully in the community, which is Homeless Services tells us we should do that. So we try to integrate them, and Homeless Services doesn't help us in doing so. So it's just a fight that's going to continue, and it's something that you have to be vigilant about, and it's something you just have to keep watching. So that's the crux of my report, because that was what we did today, in the hopes that at least maybe some of the decision makers downtown will understand the philosophy of the community board, that it's not just a NIMBY issue. And for those of you who don't know what NIMBY is, not in my backyard. I mean, we're actually trying to integrate and cooperate and work with them, but it's a one-way street so far. So just, for our elected officials, keep up the good work, and we're going to certainly keep up on our end, and thank you.
Kim. Next up is committee reports. There was no executive committee this month, but I do have for the members announcement that we'd be advised that by our bylaws call for the selection of a nominating committee to seek the names of those interested in serving in the following positions: chairperson, first vice chairperson, second vice chairperson, secretary, and treasurer. So we are looking to get 3 to 5 volunteers for the nominating committee. Is anyone interested at the moment? A show of hands.
I nominate Virginia as chair. She's doing an excellent job for all these years. Of the committee.
Virginia?
Oh, why not?
Every now and then, a couple more people work with Virginia on this mission. Do I
I'll
see
help
any
her out.
hands here?
One, I'll help her out.
All right, that's Peter. Need one more. Come on, we're going around the room. Stop everybody looking the other way. Otherwise, okay, Ms. Patty Pitt, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll go with 3 instead of 5. All right, thank you. Next up is the Housing and Zoning Committee report. Peter Sullivan.
How's everyone doing? All right, we had a quick presentation for a development that's going to happen in Locust Point. What happened is he bought this property back in, I think it was 2006. Of course, the community was in favor of Jimmy Vacca for the low density, so you can't build all these big structures or big projects on small plots. And he's looking for all sorts of variances to build 5 houses where the building department will only give him permission to build 2 houses. So all we got was really a presentation. We kept reminding him that we're more inclined to back up our first decision on lower density. And, you know, he also wants to build on the flood zone and everything else. And it just doesn't look like a great project, but we're not gonna make any decisions or put any effort into this until we get it from calendared with BSA. Once it's officially comes through BSA, we're gonna have a hearing up in Locust Point with the community, and it'll be a public hearing, and that's when we'll really get down to this. For some reason, it's been going on for a year now, Ken?
Yes.
Just back and forth with this guy, so, you know, we'll see when it finally comes in front of us officially. All right? Basically, that was it. All right, thank you.
I'd just like to, I was reminded of something which is very important. When we met with DHS and their commission did not show up, and we had their public relations party show up instead, a couple of good things did happen. It wasn't entirely negative. One of the things that happened was we tried to impress upon the DHS management that it was important to have a sense of security about the place. Right now, the only security that was there prior to our meeting was Acacia's contracted security guards. They restricted themselves to the lobby of the building and did vertical patrols, 2-story building, but I mean they did vertical patrols up and down, and they walked the halls. One of the things that we told them was that there was a problem and that it was a vulnerable population, a particularly vulnerable population, and we felt that we needed the presence of the DHS police. Now, the Department of Home Services has a uniform police force, and it's called DHS Police Services. They wear the same uniforms that New York City police officers wear. They're not armed, but they have nightsticks and they have other things to protect themselves. And right now, as a result of our advocacy, they are now doing sector patrols around the building, and they're also doing sweeps through the building. So that's an added measure of security for the women and children who live there, and that's something that we did get out of the Homeless Services. So Homeless Services, you know, did do something for us in one way. But we still have a long way to go with them and they with us. It's going to be an extended partnership, unfortunately, but.
Okay, next up is the Economic Development Committee report.
Up to about 3 minutes, I was prepared for this, but right now. The Economic Development Committee met on March 5th. And the following reports were also...
Pictures of me pulling the shirt down over your ass.
There's two pages here. For a liquor license, 3 new liquor license applicants introduced themselves to the committee and gave some background on themselves and their establishment. All attendees signed the stipulation. The 4-5 had no incidents reports. The committee voted on the resolutions. Renewal of license resolved that the recommendation of the Economic Development Committee of the Bronx, Board 10, that the following establishments have agreed to comply with the best management practices standard contained within the stipulations by signing them and going further to agree to attend ATAP training and their compliance be sent to the State Liquor Authority and a copy placed in the board's file. Italia Cafe, 3009 Middletown Road, 10461 between Crosby and Hobart, license number 1261634, which expires on 3/31. 787-336 East Tremont Avenue, 10461 between Haskin and Baisley Street, license number 1268116, which expired on 2/28/15. Legendary Bar, 3513 East Tremont, 10465 between Barclay Avenue and Summer Place, license number 1248747, which expired on 12/31/14. Pietro SK, 273 City Island, between 10464, between Haskin and Carroll Streets, license 125051, which expires on 5/31/15. Those resolutions were passed unanimously. Okay. Hawkins Street, okay, sorry. All right, they're new glasses, as you can tell. Resolved that the recommendation of the Economic Development Committee of the Bronx Community Board 10 that the following establishments have agreed, the same as before. Villanova Restaurant Corp., 3513 East Tremont, 10465 between Barclay Avenue and Summer Place. New license. Travesia Cafe, 3830-32-34 East Tremont, 10465 between Schley Avenue and Lamport Place. New license, formerly Janice Cafe. All of them met with us, all of them presented themselves. We believe them to be of good background and no problems to the community. We were involved in a manner. The committee would discuss the Bronx Beer Garden. Over the past couple of years, the location has changed ownership several times. Under the current owner, there have been several changes and principles. According to the 4-5 precinct, the police department had to respond to several incidents dealing with loud and unruly patrons. Due to a criminal court summons, the owner's new license was revoked until a hearing was held. Although a fine was paid, the violations were overturned and the owner's new license application was again viable. The owner told the board that she was trying to make the site a family-friendly venture by hiring an event planner to book weddings, birthdays, and other like catering events. The owner's lawyer advised her to get a letter of support from the board, as he said that the SLA had received a recent complaint and a letter might help approve the license. The board did not make any complaint, but did call the SLA to make an inquiry regarding the proposal of having on-site bartending classes that the owner was considering. The committee felt that since the board never made a complaint, the issuing of the letter was a moot point. The meeting was adjourned at 9 p.m. Excuse me, we did write a letter to where we would state that at this time we were not in support. Again, with the police report that we received, the committee was unanimous in saying that at this time, we're not gonna support. We referred it back to the SLA, and we thought that was the proper move to just refer it back. Thank you. Need a motion? Resolution, which other guy? Come on. At your age, watch your hand. Go ahead, excuse me, at this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Ken.
Very, very quick. There were two other bars that had difficulties that were brought to our attention by Councilmember Vaca, and we had not a quorum in either case, and we didn't support them. There was the hookah. They were voted down. They were voted down. There were two bars that were voted down completely, and that was the hookah bar, and there was another one called the Casa Restaurant. And we had written letters to the State Liquor Authority, basically saying that we had voted them down. So I just wanted to make sure you all understood that.
That was last month.
That's why I didn't have them
But
on my paper.
you have this month's resolution for the current one.
Right. There is a resolution, I read the resolutions. Any comment? Any opposed?
Any abstention?
Remind me of the hookah bar.
Brought up about last month's meeting with some sort of ruling about the liquor license establishment within 500 feet. But they said, they gave me that information, but it wasn't 100% truthful.
Well, Martin and I had gone down to the State Liquor Authority, and we had an opportunity to meet with Dennis Rosen, who's the chairperson of it. And we asked for a definition of the 500-foot rule, and what the chairman had told us was that it's not a hard and fast rule. In other words, you can have, yes, it's 500 feet, theoretically, it's 500 feet away from each bar, that's what they would like to see. But that doesn't work anywhere, it's not practical. As you know, when you go to Greenwich Village, you go to Manhattan, you go anywhere, the bars are not certainly 500 feet away from each other. So he said what you should be using the 500-foot rule to do is to determine if you have all of one type of bar or all of one type of establishment with right next to each other. If you want to have a mix, then you can invoke the 500-foot rule.
It's also about churches.
Churches and schools, right. But he said it wasn't the State Liquor Authority didn't view it as an absolute 500-foot rule to be separated from, each bar should be separated by 500 feet.
So it's a rule without a rule.
It's a rule, it's more of a guideline.
It's a guide. It's a hard and fast rule when it comes to schools and churches. Certain organizations. But it's not a hard and fast rule when it comes to between other liquor licenses. It's a guide.
Yeah, but it's also on the fourth establishment. Patrick cleared that up with us in the office one night. That is when that 500-foot rule with the liquor license was put in, there be 4 different establishments within that, and we weren't given that information.
Okay.
So I think that might have swayed us in the wrong direction the last time we voted.
Next up, municipal services.
Usually I would tell you the minutes are self-explanatory, but the minutes are a little thin tonight, so we're gonna have to explain a couple of them. First of all, there's 2 floor resolutions. We started off the evening by amending 2 street activity permits that were approved last month. The amendments were done so as not to coincide with the Fair on the Square, which was scheduled for June 20th. So we changed ID 196071, the Weekend Walks Community Street Fair, take place on 6/16, 6/13, and 6/27. And we changed ID 169915 to the weekend Walks Community Street Fair for 6/21 on Bureau Avenue. So those are two amendments to the prior street activity permits. We had a new street activity permit for St. Raymond's Fair, ID 200-554, Harvest Fields Community Day, Block Party, 8/22 from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. St. Raymond's Avenue. So I need a resolution from the floor to approve those street activity permits.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. I'll take care of that. The second item was we reviewed a letter sent by Martin and the board proposing the relocation of the 45th precinct to potentially the new Mandy site. It was a letter that was sent to the mayor's office with CCs to Councilman King, Councilman Vaca, and Borough President Diaz. Again, we just reviewed the letter. I think it might make sense to do that. Very good points in there. I urge you all to read it and comment accordingly. No motion, no resolution on that, just a proposal. The other thing, the big event of the night was the DOT came in to present their traffic calming measures for that are planned for East Tremont Avenue from Silver Street down to Bruckner Boulevard. And that's where the notes get a little thin because we just have one line there. What I'm going to do is, I think, we voted on that in favor of it that evening. But to be honest, in retrospect, there are major changes to the streets all the way down Tremont Avenue. Things like cutting down lanes, changing one-ways, increase of traffic islands. So what I'm going to ask is that we send the PowerPoint that they sent out to everybody. Maybe Ken can send it out to everybody, or you can see it in the office. And I'm going to urge everyone to come to the next municipal services meeting so we can discuss it more. We only had 5 members there on Friday, so I want to make sure we have a little more of a debate and discussion over it before we vote in favor of things that are going to impact the traffic patterns in our neighborhood.
I sat through that presentation, and I want everybody to understand that changes in that presentation affect parts of Westchester Square, the Service Road on the Hutch, and Tremont Avenue from the square to Bruckner Boulevard. What I want to suggest is that we have at least 3 public meetings on the 3 parts of that presentation, because it covers so much mileage and lots of changes. They affect people that live on all of those streets. The square, if they were to get what they're asking for, the square would become an obstacle course. You have to see this presentation to understand that. They also want to change a street from a 2-way to a 1-way near the Hutch, near the East Tremont Diner. Personally, I think it's not needed. And then down Tremont Avenue, they want to change the 4 lanes into 1 lane in each direction with turning lanes. And with the buses, the ambulances, the fire trucks, it's just, it would not be a good thing. But I suggest everybody look at the presentation. Don't just take my word for it. When you see it and analyze each piece of it, you're going to see it's just wrong for the neighborhood.
And I would agree with that. That's why, again, I'm urging everyone to look at the presentation, come to the next municipal services meeting, and then we'll determine whether a public hearing is needed or not.
I just want to say I totally disagree with that. Westchester Square Bid is very much in favor of their portion of it. They've been asking for it. And this is something that, when they came to us and told us what they were doing from Castle Hill up to Silver Street on the traffic calming measures and the pedestrian safety measures, we asked them to continue on up through Tremont. A year and a half ago, was it, John? And we were very thrilled that they did that. Some of them are going to be a little more difficult than others, but the plan overall I thought was fantastic. Yes, we should have more input. I have no problem with that, but I got to tell you, this is something the board asked for. We were thrilled that DOT did it, and I personally think they did a phenomenal job. There was 1 or 2 things that might inconvenience me a little, but I said, you know what, we can live with it for the pedestrian safety.
Bob, Mr. Rocco brought to our attention all the accidents caused by the changes that were already made. So we don't wanna go and make anything worse.
Well, I gotta tell you, if you take the DOT numbers and compare them to Mr. Rocco's numbers, I think you're gonna find a vast difference.
Okay, the DOT.
Okay, all right, let me say this, all right? Joe wisely says he wants to present it again, okay? What everyone needs to keep in mind, besides you should be there to have your own direct input, is that a lot of these changes are going in accordance with the Vision Zero plan that's been implemented throughout the city. So some of the issues you're talking about, they don't come up when these lanes are changed. But it's best if those that are interested come out for the presentation to see it itself. And the surprise for you, Joe, is they're gonna be doing a second presentation at your next municipal services.
On a point of order, we did have a resolution and passed it in the committee, however.
We did.
So we have to vote to either table that resolution.
Well, the resolution's not in the minutes, so we should, the resolution's not in the minutes.
The resolution needs to be in the minutes. If you pass a resolution on the committee, it has to be in the minutes.
Understood,
So
Bob,
we
but
need
it's not in the
we need a
minutes.
separate resolution to table the issue.
We had 5 people, we had a quorum. We had 5 people, we had a quorum, we passed the resolution, I urge us to table the resolution.
So we have a motion to table.
Motion to table.
You get a motion to
So we
table?
have further discussion at the April meeting.
Before we have a vote on the issue.
And the resolution, by the way, read that we support, without change, the traffic calming measures presented by the DOT at the March 10th meeting.
Correct. And now on the issue. You know, DOT did this presentation, and they also presented a tremendous amount of accidents that have been occurring, and injuries and fatalities from Westchester Square all the way up through Brockton. We're all familiar with the death toll in these incidents. We've had several people injured and killed. We see these cars all the time getting smashed up, and people getting hurt all the time. They gave us a time frame that they could complete this in what, 6 months overall, I think it was, Joe?
Yeah.
And, you know, if we put a stop to it, we go for another month public hearing, obviously we're delaying it, and any deaths that occur because of our delay are our fault. So I'm not in favor of putting the motion to rest, I'm in favor of proceeding with the motion and tabling it, and having it, vote tonight on the motion.
Yeah.
Sorry, parliamentary procedure, motion to table is here. Discussion stopped.
This is a discussion on the motion to table.
You're not listening. Discussion stops until you take the vote. If it's tabled, it's tabled. That's what the whole.
There was a discussion on the motion to
No,
table.
there is no
There's no discussion, Bob.
When it goes to motion,
There's a motion to table.
it's parliamentary procedure. No, there is no discussion. You just
On
vote
the
on
motion
it.
to table?
Yeah, yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
One man has
You can double check me.
So on the motion to table,
Takes priority.
all in favor?
All in favor of the table?
All opposed?
Those opposed to table?
See you all in April. Do your homework.
Okay, well, you know, you bring up something interesting on this, Bob, and in terms of, no.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'll send it out tomorrow.
Just want to let the board members know, you will be getting a copy of the, DOT presentation in your email. If you have any glaring observations, return it to the office. But everyone on the board will get a copy so that those that weren't at the presentation can get an understanding of what's involved. And for those in the audience, we will put the presentation up on our website as well. So if you go to the community board's website, you'll be able to review the plan, and if you have comments, you can send them into the board office. Long, just make it small.
Okay, on that presentation, they showed an accident report.
Point of order, this is being tabled, and I was told there is no further discussion, and now we're gonna have further discussion? I'm sorry, that's out of order. That's out of order.
Alright. Okay, moving forward. Next up is Parks and Recreation.
Parks and Recreation ran into a problem. We found that we could never argue the snow, so therefore we had to cancel that. One thing I did want to mention was, I was glad to hear our controller speak tonight, and one of the first letters that he will be getting from Parks and Recreation is a reminder that there's capital budget money available for Ferry Point Park West to build bathrooms in Ferry Point Park West. Each year, it has been necessary for the Parks Department to go all over to get courtesans, but only thousands of people that use Ferry Point Park. So it's about time that they put some action with them out this. So we will be sending a letter to him to make sure, I didn't even put it down. But in any event, we'll be sending a letter reminding that we are in the capital budget to have the bathrooms put in Ferry Point Park West. Instead of courtesans. We will be having another meeting and we'll report on all of the things that took place for the Parks Department when the weather was on our side for a change. Thank you very much.
Next up is Planning and Budget.
Yeah, thank you. The Planning and Budget Committee met on March 11th. Planning and Budget Committee met on March 11th, and the topic of that meeting was a capital and expense budget hearing. We were mandated to hold a hearing when we got a response from the City of New York regarding our capital and expense budget requests. They were 3 months late, and we couldn't hold this 3 months before, and we were waiting with bated breath month after month for this report. We finally got it, and we had a hearing on it, and we were disappointed, as all of you heard from the controllers, I said to the controller, we didn't get one capital or expense budget request, not one. And I said to the controller when he left, he said, well, you know, the big projects. I said, no, we were asking for a fence to keep the kids in the playground so they wouldn't run on the highway. It's not big stuff, you know. In any event, the Planning and Budget Committee approved a letter that's going to go to the mayor's office, and Ken did a magnificent job of putting this letter together. And I don't want to beat it to death because you all have it in your packets. And if you want to read it, you can read it. It's the same stuff we've gotten years gone by. The only deal is that Senator Klein, I understand, Ken, is he giving us a little money for Hammond Cove?
Seed money.
Seed money, okay. That's the only money we ever saw for Hammond Cove. Hammond Cove's been in the pipeline now for how long? 7 years? And he finally, we got to get a little seed money from the state. That's nice. Okay. So the Planning and Budget Committee approved the resolution to go before the whole board, and I'll read the resolution. Resolved at the request of the Planning and Budget Committee of Bronx Community Board 10 that the attached letter to the Honorable Bill Blasio, Mayor of the City of New York, containing Bronx Community Board 10's responses to the agency statement contained within the Register of Community Board Budget Requests for the preliminary budget for the fiscal year 2016 be approved by the full board at its next public meeting and committed to the mayor. That means sent to the mayor. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Any nays? Any abstentions? Good, all done. Thank you all. Okay.
Next up is youth service, youth and education services.
I don't think I need a mic, you folks can hear me, I'm pretty loud. You need the mic? Yeah? Alright.
Okay, you want me to smile? Who's saying smile? Okay. The committee had our discussion on our Global Youth Day essay contest. This year's theme has been decided that we're going to ask the kids to write an essay on public schools versus charter schools. It's going to be open to 7th and 8th grade students who live in Community Board 10 regardless of where they go to school. The prizes will be $250 for first place, $150 for second place, and $100 for third place. The essays are due by March 20th, and the oral competition will be held at the board office on April 20th at the youth committee meeting. This is, I don't know, third or fourth year doing the essay contest. This year we decided to take it down to the 7th and 8th grade students. We did it for the high school students in past years, so hopefully we'll get some good participation from our local community here. Joanne Timmons of Teen Cap announced their 17th annual poster campaign. This year's theme is Eat Well and Play Well, with a focus on the recommended 60 minutes a day of exercise and healthy eating habits. Teen Cap once again would like to thank Senator Klein for his contribution of the cardstock provided to the contestants and the laminated poster provided to their winners. Teen Cap also donates a $20 Target gift card to their 25 winners in this contest. Unfortunately, Teen Cap has not gotten any of the funding that they've gotten in the past, and they didn't have the funds available to do this. The committee reached out to the 45th Precinct Community Council, and they decided that they will fund this year's gift cards for the Frogs Neck Community Action Partnerships for their poster contest. So we were able to resolve that issue for them, at least for this. But keep in mind that Teen Cap has been doing work, the poster contest for 17 years, as well as many other good works in the community. So anybody who has ways to help them out, please reach out to them as well. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. We also have a presentation on our education portion. We had a good discussion on the governor's plan to change the way in which the teacher evaluations are done. The standardized testings as it goes today account for about 20% of the scoring on a teacher's evaluation. The governor wants to change that to a 50% on the one test. We included in the packet the piece that the UFT put out, and this pretty much spells that out. The other thing that they have been doing is withholding funds that the city is entitled to. We won this lawsuit over 10 years ago, the City of New York, with the Department of Education against the governor's office, and that money is still sitting there, and billions of dollars are not getting into our kids' education. So we passed the following resolution: resolved at the request of the Youth Services and Education Committee of Bronx Community Board 10, that a letter be written to Governor Cuomo and ask that the scoring portion for the standardized test remain at 20%, and that it is the belief that increasing this will only lead to more teaching to the test and not a true evaluation method. Also, the funding due to New York City Department of Education and our school children be released without political... Excuse me. I have the floor. This is not a public participation. You do not have the floor. Excuse me, you do not have the floor.
Find out the debate. You use my name in there. I want a chance to debate him. I would like a chance to debate him. He uses my name in there.
I didn't use your name anywhere.
You said Lou Rocco. You representing the
I did not
bid?
say that.
I'm representing the people.
I did not use your name once.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I didn't use your name once. Okay? This is not public participation.
I'm worried about people getting killed, and you're worried about the bid.
Hey, Lou, relax.
Thank you. Anyway, the resolution reads, at the request of the Youth and Education Committee, Bronx Community Board 10, that a letter be written to Governor Cuomo and ask that the scoring portion for the standardized test remain at 20%, and that it is the belief that increasing this will only lead to more teaching to the test and not a true evaluation method. Also, that the funding due to New York City Department of Education and our school children be released without political discrimination. Can I have a second to motion?
I second it.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. The committee also had a guest, Rick Marsico, who is the president of the Charter High School for Law and Social Justice. This is a new charter school that's going to be opening up in our community. The school is set to open in the 2015-2016 school year and will be accepting 120 ninth grade students. They have not completed their lease agreement with their landlord, so they haven't been able to release the exact address, but it will be opening in the Westchester Square area. Preferences for the school will be given to students living in School District 11, and then additional students, should they need, will be chosen by lottery. This school is going to offer a Regents Diploma as well as a full curriculum, but specialized courses in law and social justice. It sounds like a really dynamite program. We're excited to be working with them in the future. They'll be working with the community board. Their students will be coming in to work with us. Again, they'll be with a program geared towards law and social justice, becoming lawyers, becoming involved, community activism. So this is going to be a part of their curriculum. So it sounds like a really great school. It's a new opportunity for your students going into high school. And I believe we have applications in the back for that, Ken? We brought those here?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, the applications for the new school are in the back. So anybody who knows, and the flyers, so anybody who knows a student going into high school, this is another opportunity for them in our community to attend, hopefully, what will be one of our great schools. And let's see, what else we got? I think that's it, folks. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Health and Human Services. Mr. Fieri is going to stand in for Ms. Hunt.
Thank you, yes. We met last night and talked about the healthy challenges of Community Board 10. It's a work in progress. We tried to do something in the winter. It was a little difficult. We had a little discrepancy with our mall. We were going to do some mall walking. But I think in the spring, we're putting a lot of things together. For our healthy challenge, we're still on Facebook. Thank you, Annie, for putting that on. And if you have recipes or you want to talk to us, the Healthy Challenge is on Facebook. We also had a visit by Wendell from Montefiore last night. Talked about colorectal cancer and all the things that Montefiore and Jacoby are doing. So please get checked this month. That's the month they need to do that and stay healthy. And that was it.
God bless Montefiore.
No, God bless Jacoby too.
Thank you. Okay, any old business? Any new business? Journal? You can speak loud.
Okay, I just want to, passing the last week or two or month, something I think concerns our board, I think, with respect to cable vision. Did any of you get your new bill this month? Unbelievable. Facts are, well, I'll just go through the facts I found out. I had a certain bill of about $160 a month. My friend had the same bill over in Riverdale, $160 a month. And they said they were giving out, Fios is coming in, they're giving out special deals, $89, same thing. $300, I think you see it on TV too. $300 Visa free credit card, then another $150 if you sign up, well, the credit card, and another $150 if you sign up for 2 years. And he took it down, and he's asking what about it, and I said, yeah, I don't know. And he finally decided to take up Fios on that deal, which finally with some taxes came from $160 all the way down to, with taxes, it's $89, but taxes came to $149. And he brought the boxes in. 2 weeks later, Fios Cablevision sent him a letter why didn't you call us first? Meanwhile, he signed up for the 2-year deal. My sister had the same deal in Westchester. So I said, let me call up. And I call up, and maybe I'm not a tough negotiator, but I said, here's all the deal. You're sending a letter after somebody can't brings in the boxes. And my sister just canceled, and you call her up, and why didn't you talk to us? What are you going to give me? Well, we can't give you too much, so-and-so, we can't match the deal. I said, is it $300 and everything else? And he said, no. And they're starting to say, well, something's wrong, they're giving away money. But another bottom line I found out was Cablevision has had this monopoly for a long time. And FiOS says, and it's a question of, and I understand it's a question of dollars and cents. FiOS hasn't come in because we are low density. They just came into the west side where there's all these high rises and Yonkers, and they're giving this deal, you know, and somehow Cablevision wouldn't match it. And I think even the dish nets were matching it. But then they want their social, I called up. They want your social security number. I said, I don't want to give you my social security number. So then we can only give you the TV portion, and then you have to get the telephone and whatever separately. That's a pain in the neck. So, you know, something's not right there. And another reason I found out was FiOS had a contract with the government that they would finish all the Bronx cabling within 2 years or whatever the contract was, and they're supposed to get a penalty. The government hasn't hit FiOS with that penalty, so that's why they're dragging it. But once they hit an area like Riverdale, where they have a high density, they're giving all these offers to all those people there, and I called up. Well, we'll get FiOS in within a year. So I don't know. Can we do anything, or?
Where do you live?
I understand.
FiOS is all over Todd's Neck.
Yeah, they only come in certain portions. And I know, they come in for the business and.
No, FiOS is all over.
No, you call up and see if your zip code is there.
I've had it for 5 years.
Yeah, I had it. FiOS and.
Well, I called it.
Yeah, they might have made a mistake. I checked again. FiOS. And the thing that you're talking about is a gift card that they offer. When you sign up for a 2-year package, they give you $400 gift card. Okay? Right.
Rocco, I think Ken's gonna follow up.
All right.
Any other?
I think this is a really, really good idea. It's a great way for the kids to express themselves in a positive way in a day and age when a lot of kids don't. And this is such an important subject. I would love to hear what the kids have to say, and I think our community would love to hear too. And I was wondering if you would consider publishing like the 3 top winners.
You can always put them on our website, absolutely.
But maybe in the paper, in the Bronx Times.
Well, that's up to the Bronx Times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying here, because
But they always come out and cover the event for us. They've been very good to us, Bronx Times. And we can always post it up on our website, and if they don't have space in the paper, they can always refer it in the article to the website.
Right.
I'm sure they'd be happy
Such
to
a
do that.
positive.
Thank you, that's very nice.
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further business, I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Monica from Cake and Easy made us cookies.
Stand up, go ahead, stand up, stand up. Stand up, come on.
Okay, now what was that?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no further business, I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Before the board, we can't have the cookie.
I'm your husband, man.
All right. I'll say good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Problem is that problem is
Listen, tomorrow they'll take a picture of baby cookies, so that you put it on the women's
take a
page.
picture of him making me breakfast. Now that would be good.
Watch out, you get.
I tell everyone as unbiased that they believe me or not. I've been eating cookies, cakes, cupcakes my whole life. He makes the best sugar cookies I've ever had. The cupcakes. No, I don't care whether it's a cake or
Stick it up on Facebook because you made that all over right? Your questions gotta stay out of it. I want to get your for tomorrow. I'll do a cake thing so you can show it on the community page. We're gonna show next time. That's what I said.
Pat Caruso, Pat Caruso, Pat Caruso. Pat. Yeah, Pat.
We'll get the picture of cake.
Peter Cantillo.
Take it easy. Right?
Cookies, yay!
Cookies!
Can't have enough cookies.
Hey, baby, huh?
How about you?